We do have some breaking news for you, and so we are interrupting the debate that you were just watching between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton last night. Of course, we did clip it just as it was ending, and I can tell you the final question was asked to both. What's one thing that you like or respect about your opponent? And, well, yeah. Meanwhile, to the breaking news, House Speaker Paul Ryan says that he will now no longer be defending Donald Trump and instead will be focusing solely on keeping Republican majorities in Congress. This was said during a conference call between GOP lawmakers and RNC officials. For more on this, I'm now joined by phone by CBS News radio correspondent Stephen Portnoy. And Steve, again, just what was discussed today, with whom, for how long, and what was said?
This was a conference call that was set up by Speaker Ryan so that he might talk with the 246 Republican colleagues he has in the House of Representatives, clearly orchestrated by the leadership to address the members' concerns. At least a dozen House Republicans over the weekend had publicly said that they did not want Donald Trump to be their party's nominee. Now, there are 246 Republicans, so about a dozen is a small minority of the House Republican caucus. But Speaker Ryan tells members today that he will not campaign with Donald Trump, he will not defend his statements, and he will focus exclusively over these next 4 weeks to shoring up that House Republican majority. Those who were on the call tell CBS News that Speaker Ryan was insistent that he could not defend Donald Trump's remarks and that he would not campaign with him.
And yet he very specifically did not rescind his endorsement. So what exactly is the political calculus there?
It's a very good point, Josh. In fact, Hillary Clinton's campaign is already tweeting that fact, that Paul Ryan is not backing away personally from his endorsement. What you have to remember is that while some Republicans are quite nervous about Donald Trump, especially in the wake of the video that we learned about on Friday, many other House Republicans say that they were energized by what they saw last night, the debate, that Donald Trump did what he had to do to prosecute a case against Hillary Clinton, something he did not as effectively do in the first debate last month, that their base of support back at home in their districts is very much aligned with Donald Trump's base of support. And Speaker Ryan urges members to do what they have to do back home to win re-election. That's an implicit acknowledgement that in some cases that means breaking from Trump. If it suits certain members, perhaps people like, I can think of Barbara Comstock, who's from Northern Virginia. She is a first-term incumbent and facing a very tough re-election fight back home in a moderate district that could swing in this election. And so Barbara Comstock over the weekend was among those Republicans who called for Trump to drop out of the race. Speaker Ryan says that members will do what they have to do in order to win re-election. For some, it's breaking from Trump. For others, it's wholeheartedly backing him.
And so he also said that he was willing to endure political pressure to help protect the majorities in question here. What sort of political pressure do you believe he is referring to?
It's internal as well as external, Josh. And what you have to appreciate is the fact that, Speaker Ryan always walks a very fine line. It's a delicate balancing test. He's got to preside over the lower house of Congress, where you have, restive Republicans who are still upset about the fact that, the deals can be made and that their way isn't the way that Speaker Ryan necessarily is willing to go. Now, Speaker Ryan has to, again, very delicately walk that line, because ultimately, if he were to upset too many of his members, we could see the same thing happen to him that we saw to happen to John Boehner just a year ago.
Again, thank you, Stephen Portnoy. I want you to stand by with us. We're also joined now by Jake Sherman, writer with Politico and co-author of the Politico playbook. Jake, shades of 1996 here. With the release of the tape, was it believed that this was something of a fait accompli last Friday?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ryan never liked him to begin with, and he was never his kind of Republican. He was never his kind of guy. He felt duty to the party, and I think this is a full break from that duty. He's not saying he's unendorsing him, but this is effectively what it is. Because I'm not going to work to get him elected. I'm instead going to focus on my own House majority, which is increasingly at risk with Donald Trump atop the ticket.
So, what are your sources telling you about what was said on this conference call?
So Paul Ryan basically said just that. I will spend the next 29 days working on keeping the House majority and not defending Donald Trump. And that's a big thing. He has had to, at times, speak out in favor of Donald Trump, in favor of his policies and his politics, and he's become increasingly frustrated by that. So I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing basically a full break. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy told people on the call, don't worry, take a breath and focus on your own race. Don't worry about the national race right now.
I mentioned Stephen Portnoy, who's also with us. I mentioned 1996, Stephen. This was about the point in the campaign when it was thought that Bob Dole's candidacy was all but sunk, and so they turned to congressional majorities. They turned to down ballot races as a focus point. Is that, as much as anything, is there something greater to be seen? Is the connection fair at this point?
Well, I think there's a parallel, but what you have to acknowledge is that what we're seeing now is unprecedented. I don't think anyone has ever seen, at least in the modern presidency and modern elections, members of a presidential nominee's party actively call for his removal from the ticket. And that's different from what we saw in 1996 with Bob Dole, when it became clear in the latter days of that race that Bill Clinton was going to win re-election. One more thing I'd point out. Sources on the call say that Speaker Ryan insisted that a Republican majority be a check so that Hillary Clinton does not get a blank check with a Democratic-controlled Congress. If you read that closely enough, what you'll see between the lines is that Paul Ryan sees Hillary Clinton getting elected in November.
Seems fair, Stephen. It seems fair to say perhaps that's written on the lines, really not even between them. Jake Sherman, Stephen refers to the idea then that what's unprecedented here is that there have been calls for replacing Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. Over the weekend, the name Mike Pence was certainly floated as we learned of the governor's fury with regard to what was contained on that tape. And yet, even as he disappeared from the trail over the weekend, we saw him this morning back out on that trail and back out as a surrogate for Donald Trump. No matter the sole reference last night at the debate that Donald Trump seemed to really, if nothing else, diss his own running mate with regard to Syrian policy. What to make of the weekend spent between the Trump camp and the Pence camp?
I mean, the people that I talked to on the Pence campaign are trying to basically figure out how he could get through these next 29 days without completely ruining his career. And I think that's going to be a tough task. It's been described to me as how could he get through the storm without getting too wet. And I think that becomes very difficult. And I think over the next couple days, you're going to see people increasingly pine for Pence, but I don't think that's a realistic option at all at this point.
Jake, Dan Senor joined CBS This Morning earlier today, and again, as senior advisor to Paul Ryan in his 2012 campaign, as well as to Mitt Romney. He said very plainly that he does not know any senior GOP leaders who believe that Donald Trump will win this election. Is that a growing collective sense there in Washington?
Yes, it is. I don't know any Republican in any position of power in the House of Representatives or perhaps even in the Senate that believes Donald Trump has a chance. It's self-preservation time. You are 3 weeks ahead of an election, 3.5 weeks ahead of an election. Members of Congress are going to want to save their own careers, save their political future. And in order to do that, they're going to have to get away from this presidential candidate who has basically shown that he wants nothing to do with down-ballot Republicans. He has railed against the establishment. Not good for down-ballot Republicans, not good for the rest of the party. Was
there a needle that Donald Trump could have threaded last night, Jake, that might have avoided what we have now seen come to pass?
Yeah. I mean, if he acted like a traditional candidate, somebody who, wanted to get a tight, tailored message across and really apologize for putting the party and putting a lot of members of Congress through a lot of tough questions. He didn't do that or anything close, and no one really expected him to. Everybody kind of knows what they're getting when it comes to him. So, yes, there is something he could have done. He did not do it. He didn't come anywhere close to doing it. Basically what he did last night is he kept his base, and he needs to expand his base, and House Republicans are looking at that and saying, hey, how about my base? How about what I have to do to stay elected? I need to get independents. I need more than just Republicans to get elected, and I can't be tied to.
And meanwhile, Stephen Portnoy, to you and what you've heard then from your sources, we heard from surrogates such as former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani yesterday that we would see a contrite Donald Trump last night. We certainly saw anything but. Was it your sense from those that you spoke with that there might have been a way for this to end up differently had Donald Trump been different last night?
I think there's increasingly, Josh, a resignation that the race is essentially lost, that the gap is too wide for Donald Trump to recover that ground. And what you're seeing this morning is Speaker Ryan signaling to his members that fact, that essentially 4 weeks from tomorrow, the country is on the cusp of electing another Democratic president. And now it's incumbent upon the Republicans in Congress to act as a check against that Democratic president. The question you pose is a very good theoretical one. What could Donald Trump have said or done to turn things around? I'm not sure. Now, certainly, again, it should be noted that a lot of Trump's fans were perfectly happy with what they saw last night. But are there enough of them for him to win the presidency? And increasingly, the Republican leadership in Washington is saying they don't believe it's possible.
Jake, I know you'll be boarding a plane soon, so I'll get you both actually out of here on this one. Jake, I give it to you. Two numbers to consider. 25%, virtually of every 4 Republican voters says that they would prefer a candidate other than Donald Trump for whom to vote. Following the release of the tape this past Friday, now 63% of likely voters believe that Donald Trump does not respect women, certainly a very powerful voting bloc, and to whom he was theoretically perhaps reaching out during the 3 debates, 2 now in the can. 29 days out, what's next?
Write in your mother if you don't like your choice, then you're a Republican. I mean, he's not getting off this ballot, and people need to come to grips with that. Republicans around the country are going to start distancing themselves from him, running their own races, talking about how they will be a check on Hillary Clinton. Paul Ryan said that on the phone call. We can't let Hillary Clinton have a blank check on Capitol Hill. That's a pretty powerful message if you're a Speaker of the House, to basically say, we are running on the idea that Hillary Clinton is going to be the next president.
And as with so much in this election cycle, this feels simultaneously tectonic and, well, a Monday. Stephen Portnoy and Jake Sherman, we appreciate the time, guys.